Nielsen released its Twitter TV ratings today. And Game of Thrones? Well, it actually wasn't the top dog. The #1 spot went to ABC Family's Pretty Little Liars, which were back for a new season. And when I say the #1 spot went to PLL, it was by a 5-to-1 margin over the blockbuster HBO show as it wrapped up its 4th season. And then there were sports. Well, anyways, to give guidance, I'm joined by Deadline social media maestro David Bloom. So David, what happened? Game of Thrones reigned on TV, but yet...
Well, it's got a good audience, and there's no doubt about that, but part of the problem was this week, Nielsen had a problem with Twitter. They couldn't get all the data that they normally would get. So what happened was they could tell you how many tweets were done. They can't tell you how big the audience was based on those tweets. So one of the things that Game of Thrones gets is a bigger audience of tweets typically. Maybe they only have 200,000 tweets, but it's a bigger audience that's reached because more people follow the people tweeting about the show.
How does something like Twitter and Nielsen not being able to have the audience in this case, how does that affect your ability to look at this from a journalistic point of view?
Well, it does complicate things because the real point of the ratings is to figure out how big the audience is who actually sees conversation while the show is happening and right before, 3 hours afterward, that little time frame. And you can't really tell the size of the audience if you can't tell who they're reaching. That's the problem.
So, having said all that, let's make that as the caveat. Pretty Little Liars was in the top spot. But as you've said before in previous week, sports dominate. So what was the deal this week?
Well, it was the NBA's last 3 games. It was the first 6 games or so of the World Cup and that fantastic double overtime win by the LA Kings in the NHL Stanley Cup Finals. That was everything. So you had the finals for 3 sports, really, all going on, and they owned it by a long way. The biggest NBA game, 6 million tweets compared to 1 million for Pretty Little Liars.
So what does that tell us looking back at the relationship between drama and sports? I mean, you've talked about how sports, as I said, reigns supreme, but yet again, we are seeing strong marks. Is this part of the summer TV season? It's just a different type of audience. Pretty Little Liars does kind of reach right into Twitter's main demographic.
Yeah, it's right in the wheelhouse for the hardcore young social media users. There's no doubt ABC Family wants to be there for their long-term stuff, but sports is appointment TV. It's always going to have everybody showing up in that window, talking about it while it's happening. There's not that many people that are DVRing the World Cup game to watch it 2 days later.
So the only major sporting event left now is the World Cup. What do you think the Twitter TV ratings are going to look like in the coming weeks?
It will be the World Cup for the next month, and then that's only going to get bigger and bigger as we get closer to the actual final game of that big tournament that occupies the entire world. Reality TV will continue to be very good. I mean, it's WWE, Catfish is doing well, America's Got Talent, those shows do very, very well, and they will continue to do well.
Well, let's continue to watch this throughout the summer. Keep checking back for more video news from the Deadline team. I'm Dominic Patton for Deadline Hollywood.